He slaps her. Oh my god, no, this is old school, man. He's like, get a hold of yourself, woman. Oh my god, no, this is like anime in the 70s. She's like, my mom is dying. He like slaps her, like, calm down, woman. Yeah, calm down, okay? We gotta escape. Yeah, it's like she's like crying, losing her, her mom got killed. He like slaps her, like back slaps her, like, calm down. We have to go this thing. What? This is anime in the 70s, okay? Now this is a 70s anime. Oh my god! I'm thinking in my head immediately, like, this would never be done today, it'd be cancelled immediately. That's right. We're going old school, guys. Last episode of Gundam, right, was so amazing. The remake of course, a regular show, and I felt that, goddamn, man, I want to do retro. I want to go and actually watch episode 1, right, of the original show. Now, another video, guys. Subscribe, slap button, right? Because I would actually love to do more retro stuff. I have this series, right, where I go into some of my favorite scenes of old animes, and I would love to do it both on gaming and anime. Talk about, why this thing mattered, right? Why I should do whatever. I'm thinking of doing it on the channel, all doing this stuff, focusing on this kind of quality, older stuff, right? And I have to say, I think that the current anime is pretty weak, right? So I would love to actually have more kind of structure, like do a Gundam reaction, of the older Gundams, then maybe every Tuesday or whatever, right? And so forth as well, right? It would be really awesome. Secondly, if you know how the copyrights handle this anime, please leave a comment below and explain, because it's like older animes tend to either be completely ignored by the studio, right? You can like show the whole thing and you never copyright nothing else, right? Or they're completely uber hardcore. Like Sailor Moon's like that, they go after you immediately. It's very hard doing like a reaction to Sailor Moon, it like strikes you immediately, right? With Gundam, I am honestly unsure. I never had any issues with Mercury, right? So, but I don't know, because sometimes they're very, very harsh on older animes for some reason. So, test it here, guys. Hopefully, you'll copyright stuff. But yeah, if you know how they handle it, please comment below. Anyway, let's check out episode 1 of Gundam. Here we go. Episode 1 of Gundam. This is old school, guys. And I haven't seen everything of Gundam. I mean, I will admit that, guys. No, but this is actually out before I was born, right? You know what I mean? But for me, I haven't seen most of the, I'll say, in the middle, Like, I know what about the Gundams released in like the 90s or whatever. Here goes the opening. The classic old school style of openings, yeah. It's kind of circular, it's very much like... One of my favorite singers is Akira Kushida. This is much more in that classic, like, Japanese... Oh... There's also one thing too, anime openings tend to be quite different. Now they're much more J-poppy, J-rocky, yeah. No, back in the days they were more like this. No. So it's been a Retrogasm every episode. I was gonna be like, it used to be so good back in the past! Oh god. Gundam... It's running though in the opening, oh my god. Every anime opening is running, yeah. Even back in the 70s, you still had running, that's good. That's where it started. They always had running though. They always had that going for them. Oh, but seriously, it's always had running, man. So I've seen a little bit of the old stuff, but I admit that I haven't seen it in like since a kid, right? Like I haven't rewatched this stuff since I was like a 10-year-old or whatever, and then I didn't see all the episodes either. So this is like blind. This is like blind, man. I think I've seen more clips, Yeah, it's kind of that way, It's kind of you see the clips, right? They're going to introduce a war as well, right? So they're almost going to have the exposition in the beginning to just kind of set the piece of, like explaining that, yeah, it used to be a war, they have all the space war and so on. But this makes sense, and, as I know, of course, Gundam is very political, right? Yeah, Gundam is very political, so of course there's going to be a lot of, like, stuff on that, right? Adding that stuff. And those crashes down here and can cause a lot of, like, damage to the planet as well. Yeah, Dynasty Gundam. Yeah, slow breathing. Maybe someone is frozen in space somewhere. it's interesting looking back at it now because like they're not moving, right? They are moving, but they're not, you know, they're flying here in space, but they're not like animating their heads. They're just like moving as a still frame, right? Crossing them over, so it obviously it's much easier to do it. Yeah, that is something that you should see today, I suppose, but that is something that you definitely see less of, like, you know, these days, right? Yeah, like that kind of stuff is like something that you clearly, you did back in these days, right? Because, you know, it's like, yeah, it was easier and so on. So I find it kind of interesting how you kind of see a lot of difference in this older stuff. I'm already bored, guys. Nothing is happening. No, I'm just kidding. No, but honestly, it is interesting. I think that they started with the exposition, right? And now it's just very slow. This was all last episode. Yeah, of course, the remake. They jump down here, right? It's very. But this is what I mean. They don't actually animate like their legs or whatever. No, they use like falling. Yeah. I mean, they used doing this thing, right? They use like doing that thing. Yeah, they're not like. Which of course, I mean, it's like the 70s. I'm not saying. I mean, it's very clear that they're different back in the days, you know. So it does feel a little different now because I just saw, you know, the remake Gundam thing, right, last week. So it's fresh in my mind here. Coming to similar. Yeah. But I think it's kind of funny enough. One thing that I'm thinking about right now compared to the remake is that the houses looks more like modern time. And I mean like our time now. Yeah, like the house she lives in here. This looks more, you know, kind of how it is currently, right? Where I feel in the remake, I feel the sci-fi, the house is more, in a sense. Yeah, I feel like here where he lives looks more, you know, like close to our current time, right? You know, the typical cupboards, yeah. And honestly, I kind of like this more because I think that in modern animes, and just animes, but, you know, with like, how to say it, sci-fi stuff in general these days, I feel they kind of overplay that stuff. Oh, we're gonna like change all the cupboards. This to me actually makes more sense. I have to say, yeah, this makes more sense to me. You have this like normal, you know, a slide every door or whatever. Yeah, this to me makes more sense, honestly, because I don't think we're gonna change that much of like how we actually have our interior design, right? Like this, because there's a reason you have like a table, because it keeps your stuff up, you know. Yeah, like that kind of stuff is just kind of like, well, you know. But anyway, he has a streaming girl at him. So we know it's anime now, yeah, like an annoying woman. It's like, come on, hurry up and put your pants on. Yeah, like, okay, this is anime. I'm sorry, but yeah, it's very anime. Yeah, dummy. What did your mom say about you? Yeah, she's like the nagging, she's the nagging girlfriend character. Yeah, oh my god. They have always been in every anime since the beginning. This is what they have, you know. No, this is anime, basically. No, it drives here. Well, eating a sandwich, that's good. It's anime. You gotta have the cute sandwich, you know, yeah, like Sailor Moon. So you gotta like, run into someone while eating. And same thing here. They're moving this background instead of moving the car and so on. But actually, having like a flying car just makes it easier, right? Okay, it wasn't flying. It looked like it was flying first. I was gonna say that. Was that car flying or not? Because having it flying means you have to animate it less, right? You have to animate legs. I mean, you have to make it roll, right? But it actually was. It had wheels, but it was like you didn't see it for like the first minute. But anyway, yeah, we get into that setting as well. No, but it is genuinely so different, this anime feels than new animes. Even, I mean, it's new Gundam too, right? Because they always start with some action scenes these days. I feel like almost every episode 1 of any anime these days start with like, you know, bang, bang, bang. He's just like, we're at this thing and it's like this flying up and it's, yeah, there's much more set pieces. So that feels very different. But I think that is also just a general thing, right? Not just, I mean, with Gundam or, I think it's like an overall thing. Yeah, I'm going to do this event. Yes, okay, good. Yokai indeed. And of course there's a photo of him on the desk, of course. What is it with purple hair for then, if he has brown hair for? How does that work? Yeah, why does he naturally have purple hair for? I mean, am I the only one? Like, wait, how does he have purple hair? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But stuff like this, I think is. I mean, honestly, I find it fascinating now, and I'm sorry this because of weird reaction that we call it, but I find it very fascinating now because we're looking at them like zooming out from the space station, right? They're so many. Oh, here he comes! This sharp best character, yeah, obviously best character. He knows how to be tough, the best character, yeah. But I is interested because you can see them like zooming out. They're showing the set pieces more, right? And I feel like this is something that we don't see these days in shows. I mean, honestly, it makes me think in this weird way. I'm talking more about the review part, but it makes me think in this weird way how like I find it interesting, right? Because it's not all with anime, but I mean with like similar stuff like Star Wars or whatever. Right? I feel the same thing there too. That Star Wars, the older movies were more like, look at this, we built this amazing, lore. Tatooine, we're gonna show you the city here. We're gonna show you Coruscant, right? And it was more like you could see this amazing city and the Lucas ideas or whatever. Right? This is how it looks, and this is how the world is. I think Gundam here, episode 1, of course, but yeah, also does it better, right? We can zoom out, we see the space station, we see the houses, we see that asteroid. They focus a lot more on like just giving you that like lore, whatever we call it, the world building, right? But in a show or television, right? Where new animes, and especially that even more so, Hollywood, whatever, this is always like explosion, right? They're much is more like, hey, something happened here, bang, 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 yeah. Like, nah, but this is. It's so different. But it obviously is more a slow burn there because, yeah, we're about half the episode now and nothing has happened yet. Now we actually finally get the action right. And I'm not complaining, I'm just saying, I'm just, comparing it to modern anime. Because now if you get here, action starts right there. It's about half the episode until someone dies, right? Sounds like someone to die immediately. But yeah, am I correct in that? How much has changed, right? From like modern anime to these things, like over the last like 40 years, how these days it's kind of like we have to blow up someone immediately, right? But now it's like, no, we actually have like this like long, explaining, showing the world, showing the universe, showing the planets, yeah. And then it's like, okay, here comes the action, right? So here comes the drama, right? Here comes the triggers, here's something that starts this conflict, right? Nej, that's of course. The heroic main character. So if you've seen the latest episode of Gundam, he will obviously know. It's on a mobile suit. I like that he's the only one who has a red car. Yeah, but it's like one of those classic anime things, right? The main character, for some reason, is the only one driving a red car. And everyone else drives, another, like the basic color, green or brown. He has only one as a red car, so you can see that he's the one driving there. I mean, it's simplistic, but it's a good way to kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. I like the thing, yeah, like showing this like kind of more a still frame, but, kind of graphical. Oh, it exploded. Here's the color. That's cool, yeah. It's a nice way to do it in the. And now, of course, you see destruction. No blood or anything gore, but no. Yeah, they're dead. No, like, massive, like. Do I find the Gundam? The mobile suit blueprints. Yeah. Gundam. It's like. Did-do. Interesting. But you need to have a good, like, eye catcher, yeah. That's how anime works. Yeah, what's the meaning of this, right? Oh. My neck's a little bit stiff, I feel. Yeah. Okay, actually, no, there was more than one red car. Damn it! I had my idea there, but he still has only one driving there, but that parking lot, there was actually one of the red cars, two red cars. But yeah, he's finding the blueprint, and it's really, yeah. It's so cool. You're learning all about here she comes, you know. You gotta have that screaming girlfriend. Yes. No, but it is a very common thing in anime. You have that, like, a woman that's very much like, let's go, right? When the man is like, I have to read his blueprint stuff. It is a very anime. He's just like, very interesting, yeah, he's like nerding down there. And she's like, no, he's afraid, come on, let's run, yeah. He's just like, no, I can run later, yeah. it's a very kind of common, like, set piece there. It's like, yeah, we're running toward his dad, right? We got the dad will die now, right? I feel so his father is like get killed off, so we get that, you know. Yeah, so we have to do these blueprints. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, the white Gundam, yeah. This is it, of course. The Shiro Gundam. Yes. So this is, of course, we've seen Squeak that, or GQuuuuuuX or whatever that anime is called, actually. That's how they pronounce right. Yeah, we see, of course, this is a scene, of course, when they find... Oh, no, not the girl! Oh, she's fine, though. Yeah, she is like... She's flew a lot. No, she's fine, of course. Yeah, I was surprised she would die. She's too much of a... Oh, she died Shabu, right? No, I think Dad will die. I think she's... Oh, like a lot of people died though. Yeah, except her. She somehow manages... Everyone else died. I was like, what? Okay, everyone else is like... Yeah, everyone else is got smashed by that. But no, she's like fine. She's like, no, I'm fine. Like, everyone else... Like 55 minutes did that, but yeah, whatever. What? It's her mom. Yeah, so this is like dark. Now we're getting into like the dark stuff here. Of course, her mom will die here immediately. Yes. I'm gonna set up this war bit. I don't feel too emotional yet though. I mean, I better characters, so I'm not like super sad yet, but... He slaps her! Oh my god, no, this is old school, man! He's like, get a hold of yourself, woman! Oh my god, no, this is like anime in the 70s. She's like, my mom is dying! He like slaps her, like, calm down, woman! Yeah, calm down, okay? We gotta escape! Yeah, it's like, she's like crying, losing her, you know, her mom got killed. He like slaps her, like, back slaps her, like, calm down! We have to go this thing. What? This is anime in the 70s, okay? Now this is a 70s anime. Oh my god. I'm thinking in my head immediately, like, this would never be done today, you know? It'd be cancelled immediately. Oh my god, this would be cancelled. Yeah, he's smacked. Oh my god. He's like, no, lady, shut up. You got time for this. Yeah, what? That was... That being said, though, I mean, to some extent, it actually isn't super crazy to do that. In his defense, I mean, you know, like, if she might die, right, if she has calmed down. So, in his defense, I could see the argument still being, though, that he was like, no, you need to focus, right? You need to like focus on the issues at hand, right, so to speak. Whereas we're gonna die, right? So. I wouldn't say it wasn't actually like completely insane to be like, you know, calm down, woman. But it felt very, obviously it felt like, oh, this is anime. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, calm down, lady. Yeah, calm down. It just felt very, now we can see it to the gun, of course. But yeah. Okay, that's anime. That's old school anime. Now that's anime, guys. Then closing the door and so on. But I was thinking about, as a slapper thing, right? I was thinking about that scene, that classic, there's more than one, right? There's like 4 scenes as well, but I'm thinking of that scene in, like, Avengers, when Hank Pym, like, slaps the Wasp or something, yeah. When he's, like, turning into evil, he's, like, goes crazy, and turns the Yellow Jacket and tries to, like, kill the Avengers. He tries to attack the Avengers, and then he must save them, so he can get the credit for it. It's crazy idea. But it's just when he turns out, like, slaps her, like, massively, right? And there seems like him being like the worst character in Avengers for a long time. And one of the reasons why they didn't want to have him in the movies at the beginning was because of slap thing. But of course, obviously, it's like when we have all the Avengers are actual murderers. So it's like, yeah, I always find it so weird, right? You know what I mean? In the modern age, right? Because like sometimes slapping like that, see it's worse than another character is actually like a serial killer or something. You're like, what? But anyway, yeah, we're in the Gundam. Oh yeah, it's too strong, this mobile suit. I will show you. There he gets up. Finally, classic Gundam. The time for this? He's like, Nani? But the guy's dying. It's like some kind of weird suit. He's too powerful. Yeah, we need revenge. Unless he has the psi powers. I don't know. There's something in the new Gundam where they have like, oh, you have the psycho combo power trees. You can obviously control it. Yeah, they have more focus on that, right? But like all of this stuff here now, when it's controlling the Gundam in kind of like, you know, the 70s military stuff, I find it so interesting, right? Because in like modern animes, and also of course whatever, Western whatever, right? They're gonna have that kind of thing you pull down from the side, and it's like, yeah, I'm aiming at you. They're gonna have some kind of, you know, modern UI thing, just like a kind of interface, it's like floating in the sky or something, yeah. But the Gundam here is kind of old school. He puts out a mechanical bit, right? He loves it like that. Yeah, it's like this like mechanical way to use, you know, a mechanic, right? And I also missed the thing. I was like a really bitter old man, but I missed that. Okay, it's sci-fi, but the mecha is kind of mecha, right? The sci-fi is still like, I pull this thing down here. It's just a kind of floating numbers in the sky from my eye or something. You know, it still is like very much a mechanic, right? Yeah. And actually, I've heard more about it in the review part, but it actually is more realistic. Yeah, the whole like flying thing, flow sky thing doesn't actually make any sense, and I know from you know, from experience, like they don't make any sense. So I'll spare it later, but it makes some sense. It depends on the context, but that's a bit of me later. The episode ends here soon, right? Yeah, now he punched him, and it's like, Sugoi! I got the power of Gundam. The power of Gundam. Yeah, I'm gonna let you escape. Oh, yeah, put the sword. His katanas. So that is great, man. Yeah, you want to run away, you bastards? I guess let his lightsaber out here. But this is great, man. He's screaming at it like, ah! Oh, yeah. That looks brutal, though. He's slicing him in two there. Yes. It's cut in through immediately and it explodes. There we go. That's Gundam, baby. That's a real Gundam fight. Oh, the explosion, like... Okay, it blew up the space station. That was like a... Was that really that big explosion though from that guy's suit? That was like, man, that's massive. Yeah, now he destroyed the space station. What? Okay. Well, he can probably own the next guy too, right? Yeah, he's pissed off now, of course, but... I'll be afraid, though. If I was the other guy, that guy sliced my friend in two, like, easily, I would be like, wait, maybe I should escape instead. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, it depends, yeah. But I'll be like, he jumps into his sword now, yeah, and it dies, right? That's what I mean. I mean, it's like, yeah, maybe I wouldn't probably want to do that. I'd probably be like, I'm running the other direction from you, yeah, because you, like, easily killed my friend there. Your suit seemed way better than mine. Yeah, like, no, actually, maybe I should, like, not go at him. Yeah, he just basically died there by jumping into the sword. That was kind of dumb. That was kind of like, I got this strategy. It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Slightly longer episode 1, I think. Yeah, I think it's slightly longer than like that was longer, 24 minutes. This is something that's been kind of the same, right, for all the years. But I mean, it's the same thing basically in like the whole planet, right? TV shows are usually roughly the same, time span, because obviously commercial breaks. So you have like, in 30-minute time slot, right? You're gonna have the episode has to be shorter 30 minutes, so you can have like, you know, one commercial break in the middle and, you know, commercial before, after, and all the stuff, right? So yeah, you can like usually roughly the same time span, animes and so on, or all the years, and you know, or of course you have a 1 hour episode and so on. Oh, it's like a preview now. Yeah, you're gonna have Char. You're gonna have Char. You can see Char here, right, in the preview. Yeah, fighting in space, okay. So let's review it. So first of all, right, I found these set pieces to be really nice, yeah. And like I said earlier, it really reminded me how much it has changed, you know, from the past, right? Because here we have like the zooming out, they're showing this space station, they're showing these things, showing the asteroids, showing the planet, they're showing the houses, right? And as I said earlier, in the reaction part, I find it's very interesting how this episode 1 here spent a lot of time, probably like the first 10 minutes, to exposition, right? Give us like the backstory, the lore of the war or whatever, right? Like the history of this Gundam universe. And also just giving us a lot of these set pieces, showing us the world, so on. And this is something that I feel anime these days are just massively lacking. They're just jumping into the fray, right? Just fighting immediately. And of course, even worse in Western stuff overall, right? And I think that also explains partially a reason why, especially in the West, they like to do the remakes, right? They like to take anime or shows, whatever, that already exists, right? Except by Devil May Cry. They take something that already is an established franchise, and they just, you know, throw you into the action, and it's mindless action, right? Because if you don't have to like build up this stuff, if you just buy into an already existing franchise, usually something from the East, right, and you just throw it into the West instead and remake it or redo it, right? You don't have to spend time doing this stuff. You should still do it, but they will pretend that you don't have to spend stuff, you know, showing the world, because the fans already know it. Yeah, they already know it. Star Wars, they already know Coruscant. You should just go into a fight on Coruscant. Yeah, don't need to build it up. But I think it's very interesting, because I think this is also much more, like I said, how like Star Wars, etc., also used to be more like this, right? And it goes back a little bit what I said in my last, in the Gundam 2 review, I think as well, that it's like it used to be more, you know, like we build up a universe, right? So it's like simple characters, complicated world, right? But that has like flipped today, and now instead it's like very complicated, messy characters. Usually, of course, actually it's confused and badly written, but you know that stuff, right? And you know, very simplistic world around them, which is boring, right? This here's how it should be. We should have this setting, right? Of course, it is contextually based. Gundam obviously is like a war military anime, so we have to have more focus on, or even more focus on explaining the world as well. Now, I like how this thing looks old school, right? And even if you see now, I like how this looks old school, you know, and like, but actually realistic, because even if the pilot is inside this like future suit, right, a mobile Gundam suit that is much higher technology than we currently have, right, in the current year, you wouldn't have these, you know, floating numbers, the UI thing that's like sparkling, whatever. Because the thing is that you actually have to have a very robust mechanical system. So this way to look at a typical, like, you know, Gundam mecha, right, and you know, overall old sci-fi mechas actually still makes more sense. A lot of people think about independence still flying around the numbers or something, but that actually isn't really like how it would be, because the thing is that, especially, maybe perhaps in like a home environment, but if you go to look at any, like, you know, fighter jet or whatever, right, they actually have like a very, very rigid hotas. It's very, very hard to turn it. It's a lot of force actually to like turn when you're flying a fighter jet. It's very, very much. It takes a lot of effort actually to just make a turn. I thought from experience, so it's kind of like, you have to do that, right? So you have to be fit and so to do it. But the reason it's so robust is because when you're flying, right, at high speed, high altitude, right, if anything goes wrong, right, anything hits you and you don't have to die, right, but like it's minor hit, right, this have to still work, right? So all that like fancy UI stuff, flying stuff, weird screens and all this stuff, right, that probably will never happen actually in these like modern suits either, unless maybe really long in the future. But probably not even then, honestly. No, because it's not very robust, right, for any kind of damage you take. And a Gundam, of course, you're gonna fight, right, you're gonna have a lot of fights, all that like fancy stuff will stop working immediately, right? So this actually looks much more realistic, and actually it's like, well, yeah. But so I like it, because obviously this here is like in the 70s. How do you imagine you would have like a, you know, a mecha warrior fighter suit, basically, right? But you still have to rely on like actual like military systems and how they probably work. And actually, again, it's more realistic than I think some of the modern sci-fi stuff is, right? When they have too much fan stuff on that. That being said, though, I do think that one thing that they miss out in these old animes, of course, and also overall that old sci-fi stuff, is that while I liked that they have the cupboards, right? I liked that they have like a basically like a slightly more modern house than we have today. I like that because, like I said earlier, I don't think we're gonna like change our houses and have just like we won't have tables anymore. No, we're still gonna have tables and cupboards or obviously. That being said, one thing of course is all the smartphone stuff. Yeah, that I think is something that you can really see how old sci-fi stuff has missed out on. Yeah, because that is something we're gonna have. We have now, right? So if you go like 100 years in the future, of course you're gonna have these all like smartphones and people are gonna listen to music and all that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is something that these older animes completely missed out on. But of course, the same in the Hollywood movies or whatever, right? There, no one had that idea that we're gonna have all this like kind of very accessible, I guess, media. Yeah, like media, right? Music, videos, that kind of stuff. Big, computers with big screens, right? And video games and so on. That kind of stuff is usually what they really missed on. And I mean, it gets even weirder, right? If you look at like, I think it's from the 20s in America, they made some, what's it called now again? Is it Googie thing, whatever, Googie Orchestra, something future thing, Googie Future Science Fair, something like that, in the 20s. And they had this idea that, okay, like, draw out how you think we're gonna live on Mars, right, and how it's gonna be. And everyone was like, flying car and this thing, and it was very much super, like this, year. In the 1980s, we're gonna live on Mars and have hovercrafts and everything like that. But still, no one had like cell phones. That was completely missed. Yeah, no one has this idea. There was this idea that they have some like giant screen to like you can call one person, and yes, I think that that's something that we have really. If anything, technology-wise, that we have increased so much rapidly, right? It's like communication and media, right? Like social media stuff, communication stuff, easy to call anyone over the world and so on. That stuff is something that, yeah, because they had like, they're gonna have like rocket launchers and everything gonna fly around on jetpacks and have this shit and they're gonna all bad ideas, but they're still gonna have to use like a normal lamp that they call someone. Yeah, it's like that is interesting. What do you guys think? Anyway, let me scratch the like button, right? I do feel it's kind of different now, but I don't know. I kind of get into thinking about it in other ways too. Also, might be a fun way. So I really hope you guys get some feedback because I feel that this is more fun too. It's for me personally to also think about a little bit more technology standpoint, right? The visual standpoint, like what did they actually think in the 70s was going to happen today, right? How did they manage, like imagine that the world will be in the future and so on, right? I think it's very interesting how it has changed over the years. Like I said, I think that in modern ways, we look at sci-fi, we think about, I would argue that too much, communication, iPad, iPhone, too much that stuff, right? Now that stuff is so obvious, there is too much of that, I would argue for it. And it's too little of this mechanical stuff. But at the same time, they clearly were wrong on like how people are gonna sit in there, at home and have like a normal old computer, like whatever. Yeah, that doesn't happen. So it's a little bit strange, right? But anyway, subscribe and have a great day.